After entering a predatory contract with the Vladoff Corporation, Moses left penniless and alone on the planet of Pandora. She joined up with a questionable marketing team to pay for things like food and lodging, but her best friend Ironbear has been out of commission for ages now, and it's wearing at her mental health. So to afford the necessary repairs, she's going to be doing anything necessary. And it's on that note that I'd like to thank today's sponsor, the Torg Corporation. 400% more awesome, Torg combines good damage, high fire rate, and recoil reduction into one lethal weapon. Fun for the whole family, our explosive line of personalities is sure to put a smile on anyone's face, but for those with smaller fingers, we have items like the Girth Blaster Elite, a mini monster of pure entertainment. Torg. It's safe enough. While I have a moment, I'd also like to thank our sponsor Vladoff for providing me a grenade mod. Vladoff. We also sell grenades. In case it's not clear, I'm going to be using only items that I received through the mail. Gotta give my sponsors the proper attention, or they'll repossess my internal organs. They already have my soul sent out! As you can see, the blaster is more than a toy. It's a tool, capable of keeping your kids busy and repelling intruders via our patented non-explosive foam darts. While most models are the latest merch, let's you and I cover the specifics of the run. Again, only mail items. All other items that I pick up I'll be selling so I can afford repairs, and also ammo upgrades. This means no shields, artifact, or class mod. I technically could get a shield early on, but I don't think it would have done much, and it just didn't feel right. Since my mech is recovering, I won't have access to my action skill. And of course I could do things like melee, bounce on enemies, use vehicles, or even use my own skills to do damage, but if I don't use the wonderful merchandise that my captor sponsors have sent me, then how will you make the most informed decision possible regarding your future purchase? NPC and environmental damage have both been signed off within the contract, as they better showcase the versatility of the items I'm using. Additionally, I'll be allowed to do things like melee objects when absolutely necessary to carry on. They've also informed me that I'm not allowed to make use of any of the Guardian ranks due to legal reasons. Something about usage rights and Iridian lawsuits. Should I accidentally violate any of the above rules, I'll be resetting the area by way of save quit to get advertiser-friendly footage. I spent a lot of the early game scrounging for ammunition because of the high rate of fire provided by Torg, of course. It has nothing to do with my poor aim or the incredibly lacking damage of the blaster. Completely no relation. As you can see though, even larger foes can't hold up to such a mighty toy. For families that like to fight as hard as they play, of course. I invested really heavily into the bottomless mag tree to get some ammo support. Also a little bit of fire damage, but mostly for ammo. This particular weapon specializes in close range use, so it's best to fire as near as you can to your targets. The grenades I've been provided are good for dealing high bursts of damage at range, but there's just too much goodness to carry and I ran out of them constantly. Encounters with wildlife and even close-range humans went alright, but getting anywhere into mid-range with the slow-moving and largely gravity-affected projectiles was trying. Unlearning habits, though, is a hell of a thing, and I did the unthinkable. For those that don't know, every time you kill 100 enemies with a weapon from a specific manufacturer, they send you a new weapon. Grenades not included. What I didn't know is that it's sent at level 10. So I can't use the rocket launcher I just got. After spending a while trying to earn credit with the company, and my own level, I figured I'd do a task for my other employer and rescue a man from an interview gone wrong. Gotta work so many jobs just to make a living out here. Nothing to see here, folks. We don't have any further comments at this time. Please follow our social media for any further questions, and we'll keep you updated when there's more information to release. It could certainly have gone worse. Afterwards, Ellie's Catch a Ride has sponsored me with free rentals. I didn't want to walk everywhere. This counts. From there, I was informed that I'm meant to travel to a long series of ranged encounters that are considerably higher level than the weapon I'm currently using. So I instead left to kill a big bug. If I can kill it, I'll earn a new sponsor and a new weapon. That, though, was a big if. Such a large one, in fact, that I didn't succeed. Not even close. I died repeatedly and ran out of ammo before getting anywhere even remotely near finishing the fight. I tried doing some side quests that I couldn't complete, and eventually even accepted some new sponsors. One that I couldn't use until level 10, and also Atlas. State-of-the-art grenades. They're more useful than nothing. After around 4 hours of farming, though, I was finally a high enough level to start using the weapons I was sent. Upgrading to the big kid toys. I got my hands on a Torg assault rifle, and assault is right. It's downright offensive to the ears, eyes, and general sensibilities of anyone unfortunate enough to end up in its crosshairs. It's not much, but critical hits give me some bullet and health regen. My grenades give me a bit of health as well. I'll be needing that sustainability to get me through a relatively high number of gun-toting enemies. God! Fine. Let's run it back. Reshoot, everybody. Take 3. They were also kind enough to send me a break-action shotgun. A beautiful piece of machinery. Most modern Torg designs are equipped with 2 firing modes. For your everyday normal enemies, impact explosives pack a hell of a punch. For bigger thorns in your side, they provide sticky ammunition that hits slower but a lot harder. The more you pack on, the more they take off. Torg. For when you want to drown out the screams of your enemies with enough explosions to level a continent. I was able to get some defective merch from one of my sponsors. Turns out it's worse than we thought. So we took it to one of our developers to troubleshoot. Some super fans of the product came in trying to get their hands on it. Something about a collector's item. After some Pinkerton-like grace, we persuaded them to vacate the area. From there, the objective requires that I pick up some contest winners to take to an event or something. Gotta use a car for this, no two ways about it. I really need to reread that contract. After an average corporate board meeting, I've apparently been asked to visit a different planet to help widen the pool of potential customers. Not sure what I think about it, but I'm not paid to think. The damage potential of my grenades is already nearly meaningless, but they can be used to push enemies around a bit. They helped me to get to a sales rep for Atlas. I was asking about getting my hands on some updated Atlas tech, but no dice. Figured I might have more luck higher up. Along the way, I found out that Malawan and the COV were doing some cross-promotion. They were also looking at getting some Atlas capital in their pockets, but if anyone's gonna get that ad revenue, it's going to be me. Torg, don't fail me now! I fought through wave upon wave of competitors, one blast at a time, all to meet with the man himself, owner of Atlas. So, will ya send me some guns? No? Oh, okay. Well, I'm off to meet with employee number 2. Maybe if I get enough, I can catch his ear. Just gotta... Well, a spot of avoiding insurance claims later, and I meet with the company's math person. As you can see, I worked alongside him to commit some corporate espionage, and yes, it is technically against another potential sponsor. You can get access to both the Doll and Malawan weapons through Moxie's tip jar, but I didn't. I don't like either manufacturer. Not even a lore reason, I just didn't want to use them. We steal some tech and move on to steal some corporate secrets. Gotta kill a walking, talking, and bleeding server to do it. I realized that I had a shield on and had to restart the fight. I rewatched the footage and luckily hadn't gotten through any combat with it in play, so terrifying mistake to make, but one that didn't come back to bite me. My best method of healing is currently either my grenades or fight for your life. That being said, I packed quite the punch, and the Gigamine went down on, technically, the first valid attempt. We went through some negotiation and finally settled on helping out my employer. I still couldn't get a dime out of him personally, though. Before I could even take a moment to breathe, I was already getting sent to another planet. This one wasn't even for corporate reasons. I'm pretty sure I'm just being asked to do a personal favor for my boss, and I'm at least 90% sure this is illegal. What followed was hellish in nature. I died on loop with weapons that were underleveled, and no good way to heal outside of nearly dying. I managed to get a high enough level that it sort of changed. I can now sprint and shoot at the same time, so I never have to stop repping my products. I also have lifesteal while sprinting. The downside is that my main sponsor at the moment will literally blow up in my face, so running directly to my enemies to blow myself up is less than ideal. I did eventually get through, though, and met what seems like a lovely lady. I'm sure she has a long, healthy, and happy life ahead of her. She helps me fight through a ton of dudes, and I make my way to a mini-boss. For killing it, I get a new weapon, a new sponsor, and I now have a good place to stay and farm for a little bit. Let me introduce you to my new sniper rifle, fresh from the Jacobs Corporation. Lovingly handcrafted by family, for family. Each and every shot's signature aroma punctuate the unmistakable sound of power at your fingertips. Because when it just needs to be dead, it needs to be a Jacobs. My aim may not be the finest in the galaxy, but when even my lack of skill can line it up, whoo, that right there is a thing of beauty. Now, more than anything, I'm here to help Maya. She's one of my boss's friends, and... Well, I wouldn't happen to have any affiliations that she needs to know about, so if you could do me a favor and keep your yap shut! The mission ends out on some guy named Trenton or something. He's capable of dealing massive amounts of damage at ridiculous speeds, with damage over time, and all in ludicrous sizes for the areas he affects. There was initially the temptation to charge him to heal via sprint shooting, but it doesn't work at all with the amount that he can hurt me all at once. Simply put, I'm too flimsy to get the full use of my weapons. They just have too much to give for my otherwise feeble frame. He swaps between fire and ice. Turns out you're really safe up here and over here during his ice phase. Makes for some really easy shooting. His fire projectiles can still get you though, so watch out for that. I ended up swapping strategies a bit. I was spending too much time reloading, so why not just skip that whole process? I had the first fully automatic gun of the entire run in my hands.
Put together with soul fingers, they'll blood glue your demon bacon until you're delivered safely, softly into that good night. Flash the moon with your brightest smile as the lead wind blows through these dreams of mine and yours, forevermore.
I get done helping Maya, and she's apparently coming back with me. I'm not sure why, but I'm not paid enough to ask questions, nor piss her off, so that's all the explanation you're getting. Shortly after my arrival, Reese called wanting to bargain again. I really tried at the brand deal, but the best we could swing was me running incredibly dangerous errands for him. Again. It seems like a one-sided deal, I'm not gonna lie. I came to meet with him, only for him to send me to a low-gravity section. Fun stuff. My combat strategy has evolved, though. I was making considerably better use of my ability to sprint and shoot. I would choose my targets by pure instinct. An insatiable bloodlust, bottled and preserved, poured over each of the engine-powered cogs that make up these gears of battle. I'd rush down my prey like a hyperactive corgi after a ball of rope. A very specific example, I know, but you'll have to trust me on this one. I rarely had to stop shooting. Ammo is an issue, but Moses' bullet regen works a bit different with COV weapons. She regenerates directly into the magazine, so if the gun is full, it gets nothing. COV weapons don't have a magazine, so it goes straight into the reserves. Maximum efficiency. Their guns may not be built well, but they're well for the build.
Of spleens and Mephistopheles, swinging sweet nothings in embers and showers, sparks of rain, wet with sorrow, a beauty to behold in its furthest recesses of the child's mind, untainted and severed, observed only by the eyes. They gaze a steely gaze that binds and protects. They smell the doubt. They taste the blue. They are the middle and the end. The beginning, only bees!
Apparently I'm back to screwing over Malawan, though, which I can get behind. If I wanted to charge my weapon, I'd be using a bow. Who asked for this change?
The death tube will only taste of my flesh this day, never to partake, never to savor.
The death spheres, on the other hand.
Could still only hope. I am the inevitable.
Here's where I finally took the time to kill a target for 0, thus receiving a Hyperion weapon through the mail. And no, I didn't really use Hyperion weapons. I have my reasons. I then got a lot of dudes. With encounters growing progressively larger, so too did my ammo capacity. A necessary change to get the appropriate amount of Daka Daka to carry me through safely. The same, though, can't be said for our corporate scumbag here, as we commit what was probably a war crime. Granted, he was probably guilty of several, but I don't think that'll hold up well in court. Then, time to fight a ball. This boss tends to stay farther away than most others, which is actually really nice. As long as I'm running towards enemies, I'm safe. It's when I get there that I don't have much in the way of options. So this distance allowed me the ability to heal and also mitigate the damage I was taking. Its relative size also made for a pretty great target. Cover was easy to come by when it started up moves that might pose a threat. I went down a couple of times, but it was a relatively safe fight. Gotta say, I expected a lot worse. Is what I would say if I hadn't been provided such amazing items by the generous and incredible sponsors. Go pick up a payment to you guys from Reese? Okay. Well, it turns out that the COV can send you Atlas weapons. This isn't even the only one that they sent me. I'll count it. We're now officially backed by a new company. For when the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Good enough for gods and mortals alike. Bring an Atlas. Fear nothing. And yes, I know they sent me grenades, but they ain't doing much for me. Alright, man, I gave you every opportunity to stop spamming my inbox with offers. I don't want to rep your crappy guns, and now I'm going to kill you. Turns out he can duplicate himself to throw off his opponents. Makes sense. Not sure how else he'd be sending this many goddamn emails in an hour. I don't know how you managed to completely kill my spam filter, but I know how to blow up the generators you're standing on. As usual, he's not hard. He just won't sit still long enough to make my life go more smoothly. I supported Reese's decisions because people deserve to be happy with how they look and feel, and left to go back to a meeting. Pretty sure this, like many of these, could have just been an email, but I headed planetside because it's apparently a weapon demo that I was signed up to do without my knowledge. I also apparently have to take Maya to an appointment on the way or something? His personal favors are getting really out of hand. I had to be really careful not to ding up the company vehicle. Even had to get out and take care of the locals on a bunch of occasions, limiting liability by not having an active driver and all that. I'm not sure how, but I keep forgetting that there are Guardians in this game. Like, I know that the Iridium homeworld is in my future, and yet it never connects that Iridian enemies would be a thing. Really felt that absence in the second game, I guess. Atlas Tech has an alternate fire mode that allows you to use smart bullets. Basically, I can tap the big BC with a tracker, and then shoot in just about any direction, and still hit it. The room is large enough that my projectiles have plenty of room to turn around, which is great. Of course, the high fire rate and damage aren't marks against it. Only bloody pools against my foes, as I make quick work of the creature. Buy an Atlas, and you too can see what it feels like to hold the power of the gods in your hands. Ah, Maya. How'd the tests go? Got your results back yet? To shreds, you say. I get back to have one of the worst funerals in gaming to find out the Hammerlock has been kidnapped and one of my sponsors is currently being attacked. And payment or not, nobody touches the Jacobs Corporation. Just tell me who to shoot, Chief. I'll kill him! If you've ever played this game, you should know well that there's not a lot to love on this planet. It has some of the best characters, true, but it also takes forever to navigate because the environments are all huge and not a lot to do but shoot your way through. And with how fun the gunplay is in this game, that shouldn't be an issue, but there's something about the way everything blends together that it's just not ideal. I spent a while shooting through a prison section, met with some people that sort of helped, but can mostly be ignored, and eventually found my way to the area's boss. He's a big target that hits really, really hard. If I charge him, I'm pretty sure I'm just dead. So I instead chose to strafe. Not good for health regen, but my typical strategy just doesn't work here. He works similarly to Goliath, though. So when his health gets lower, he changes his own strategies, opting to chase and punch. Wouldn't be that bad, except he's quick enough to keep pace. Doesn't give him much time to shoot at the big lug. Worse still, though, for the 3 people that don't know, he can become significantly stronger and refill his health. As it stands, I can't do enough damage to him fast enough to stop it. Even worse, I ended up running pretty low on some of my ammo reserves, just desperately trying to stop him. I just barely managed to kill him before his final level up, much to my relief. Thank you, Reese, for the gun! Holy hell, it was a nightmare in the making. I managed to save this beautiful man and made my way back to report in. Apparently they appreciate the work I've been doing to promote their wares. Just don't tell them I haven't been using them a lot. I'm being asked to go to another meeting, and I can't say that I'm enthused, but I've been threatened with breach of contract penalties enough to know where this would be going right quick. So I went to their little sit-down, only to find out there's been some weirdness going on between CEOs, and this is so far beyond my pay grade. I shot my way through a place that looks far too fancy to be seeing the business end of some black powder. I'm pretty sure it would cost more to replace a chair here than it would cost to replace me. Afterwards was Billy the Anointed, and he's a pain to deal with, but the bigger they are, the bigger they are. I thought we'd already established that larger targets are just easier to deal with. Sure, he can down me really quickly, and he likes to be closer than I would personally want him, but he's really not so tough. I managed to actually remember the combination to open the trapdoor, and got back to deliver a record. Then go meet with a marketing research guy. Wanted to see me in action, so he had me clear out of town, and more town clearing. He then had me going out to locate a product developer. Dude apparently wasn't showing up for his shift. Then one of their tech guys who was apparently bringing his personal problems into work with him. Can't say I was enthused at the idea of sorting out people's emotional issues in a work environment, but I don't think we even have an HR department, so I guess this is on me too. Genevieve hits everywhere. Unsurprisingly, it kills me quickly, and I really don't do nearly enough damage for this fight to end out the way I'd like. By the time I get anywhere near even remotely far into her health bar, my fight for your lifetime is awful, or there just aren't enemies to get back up. They're tiny and infrequent, so I left. I left to kill hundreds of enemies. I was sent some new merch in the mail, and I finally had an improved arsenal. Finally ready to finish the fight. Or I would if the boss hadn't bugged out. Literally wouldn't initiate the fight, wouldn't let me deal damage, had to reload, but on the second reattempt of the fight, I'm not sure how long I actually spent on just this. Feels a lot longer than I'm sure it was. Anyways, I got to unload, or I guess you don't load COV guns. I got to shoot an automatic handgun that tears through enemies and ammo reserves. But it's COV, and I now regenerate ammo passively, so it works out just fine. Afterwards, I was tasked with finding some of their other marketing people, just finding employees and telling them to get back to their jobs. This isn't a demo, this is just more work! After getting really sick of dealing with the rule of threes, I got my hands on some corporate secrets for Wainwright. My reward was going and finding more of them that they lost.
Nonsense, an elaborate puzzle is its own reward.
Alright, fair enough. I did eventually find them though, and I was on my way to turn them in. Along the way, I ran into some crazy corpo lady. Not even sure what she does. Or rather, what her employees do. I don't know if she's linked to a weapon manufacturer, but I'll be more than happy to introduce her to the handiwork of one. Aurelia primarily uses ice. A lot of defense, with some lackluster offense. She is dangerous, but only when she's not freezing herself. Which was pretty much constantly with the ceaseless onslaught of this beautiful, one-of-a-kind COV handgun. COV. Dare to be unique. I shot my way through a lovely garden area, which is to say that it's pretty. I can't even imagine trying to find the time to maintain something so grand. Next up was another weapon demo. A real one this time. I'm supposed to fight this big ugly thing to show you that with the right weapons, you can kill just about anything. I don't think it'll come as any surprise, but the Grave Ward didn't stand a chance. Not against the superior stream of hot lead pumped out at approximately really friggin' fast. Big as can be, covered in crit spots, and never even trying to swim its way out of my stream of pain, it only ever managed to even hit me once. And that once was pretty quickly recovered by the fact that this boss is just kind of terrible. Moving on. Oh, Tanis, you being here only means that... Yep, that might as well happen today. Honestly, what even is the timeline of this game? When am I supposed to be able to get a night's rest in here? I'm not even done with an encounter and I'm being sent off somewhere else. Like, here I've got to go sit through another meeting while trying to stay awake. Then go all the way back to Pandora. Hey, Vaughn. Been a sec. So, back to espionage. Sort of. Gotta sneak into an invite-only expo. To get into the expo, I've got to get a better car. So I went and killed a guy to get his. Seems gaudy for my taste, but I'm not a car person. As a woman of science, you should be well aware that RPM is pretty much irrelevant here. What matters is the surface speed. In Imperial units, it would generally be surface feet per minute. For instance, cheap angle grinder wheels are often about 4.5 inches in diameter. This means a circumference of about 14 inches. They're often rated for something in the realm of 13,000 RPM, or a theoretical maximum of 15,315 feet traveled in a minute, or about 2.9 miles. But keep in mind, that's an RPM of 13,000. It's rotating 13,000 times in a minute to achieve that. Alternatively, the Earth has a circumference of around 24,901 miles. If you had a blade the size of the Earth rotating just a single time in a minute, you'd still be getting well over 8,000 times the relative speed at the surface. Our question also includes the question of mass and transfer of force. A bit of hydrogen hitting you at the same speed as something like uranium is going to have a vastly different effect. But I'm not paid to think. Yeah, so it turns out it's a really hard expo to get into. Frankly, I have no idea how so many people got through. How many cars did they take? To break a really big one just to get in here to get shooting. Afterwards came the Agonizer 9000 fight. After everything that I've been through, after the hours I spent looking at this giant ugly mug, this was nothing. It may be unfair to show off how good COV guns are against bigger COV tech, but when was the last time a bigger company cared about honest marketing? And you. And you. Can I take a nap yet?
Head down to Roland's Rest.
Okay. With how much I've been representing the brand, they're wanting me to go organize a meeting to negotiate a better deal with the COV. To get in, I'm going to need a security pass. We have one tucked away somewhere in storage. Not sure when someone last came through and cleaned out our storage. Oh god, that's my job now, isn't it? I feel like a profession in extermination would get you really damned far in Pandora, but this sure as hell isn't what I signed up for. Now, believe it or not, this section single-handedly had more required resets than any other part in the game. While trying to transport the entry pass, I had to repeatedly get out to deal with some locals. They weren't much of an issue. What was, though, was things like that. Can't shoot it down, so I can't drive past. Gotta run instead. Worse still, there are sections that you can only sort of almost get by. And the checkpoints get really weird if you don't have a car through here, so this took longer than it ever should have. Damned breakable environmental objects! I finally got the car safely through, and as long as they don't have eyes, ears, or a brain, I'm sure they won't be able to tell that I may or may not have badly damaged another company vehicle. Please let me out of the meeting. Anything but this. I'm off to negotiate, and there are apparently a lot of people here looking to get a meeting. Such as things, I suppose. Which means that it's time for some ballistic bureaucracy. Serving it up COV style straight to the core of a whole load of red tape powered thorns in my side. Beautiful simplicity. Remember, our engineering is simple. Maybe even overly so. But it's not stupid, if it works. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the weapons I used. Maybe it's the build or just part of the game, but from this point on, it felt like there was a constant stream of enemies, and bullets to share with all of them. It felt like mowing grass. If the mower was a bullet hucker held together by duct tape, and the grass was the easily manipulated and thoroughly brainwashed masses of desperate people clinging to some sort of belonging. Okay, now in this round of bargaining and weapon showcase, we decided on a round of rounds via my lead and his orbs. Not sure why that's the angle they went for with his attacks, but who am I to question? Answer? I'm a nobody. But in my hands is a top-of-the-line COV instrument of death, hand-built because no machine could match this kind of ingenuity. Holding on to it and a massive stockpile of ammo, even a nobody can go toe-to-toe with the CEO of the COV. Impressive work, but that's the only kind of work we do here with the Children of the Vault. I didn't do a great job of avoiding his attacks, but damned is this bolt hose. Easy enough to get back up, easy enough to put him down. Arch so great you can slay a god king. Wait, this isn't gonna affect my contract, is it? I, didn't think I was about to murder one of my employers. I hope I didn't upset the whole board. Well, shit. Also, genuine question, where even is the Vault Hunter during this cutscene? They weren't in the vault, they weren't out with the others for Tyrene to attack. Where are the potentially 4 other people? The plot just forgot about me altogether. I get a call about some big-name dude who wants to slap his name on my success. Friggin' coattail writing. I mean, hey! What can I do for you? Travel across the galaxy? Of course. Why not? Necrotafeo. Honestly, this place just seems overall uninspired. There are new enemies here that have less impact than a cow breaking wind halfway across the planet. Then they decided to just have Malawan enemies here. Meaning any sense of this place being remote or undiscovered is just gone. I don't care how many times you keep pestering me. No means no from Modes. I'm not taking your crappy brand deal. I met with Famous Guy over here. I'm not really a fan of this place, so I'm gonna skip to the part where I get a recycled boss fight. If the game ain't trying, why should I? COV guns. They shoot good. Look how easily this guy gets shot dead. Amazing. Wow. Buy some. Don't. Whatever. They're affordable, I guess. You can still afford to eat after fulfilling your bills. If not, just sign contracts until you're out of debt long enough to come to your senses and realize you've made a long series of mistakes, but you're in too deep to stop now. Integrity is a wonderful thing, but it sure as hell doesn't replace nutrients. There were a lot of folks with things to say about the products, but I'm only here endorsing it, not here to talk direct sales. I've got a whole team for it, and I am plumb out of patience. As such, I started blasting. More accurately, I continued it, only taking breaks to care to my ever-breaking weapon and go between objectives. The rest was a lot of pew-pew. Gotta ask though, how did she know where we are exactly? Like, are we that easy to track across the universe? Also, her plan is to absorb the destroyer. Billions of lives lost to seal it away. All by the siren that once had her exact power set. The one that was presumably much more experienced and knowledgeable on the topic that wasn't able to leech the destroyer. And her plan is to do what the siren before her couldn't. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Why not? What even is continuity? Well, apparently she wasn't open to me criticizing her plans. I'm pretty sure there was nothing against it in the papers that I signed, but she's threatening lawsuits, and let's face it, I don't have the money she does, so if this gets pulled into court, I basically lose by default. The legal fees alone are gonna sink me. So, for my sake, I'm gonna really hope that these guns are worth their salt. Wait, your plan sort of worked? Wait, that's your final form? It's terrible. How is the design for an ancient eldritch god somehow both minimalistic and also just a bunch of visual noise? It's both over and under-designed nonsense. Unlike the beautiful weapons provided by the COV team. Guns built on practicality for the go-getters like you and me. With these babies in hand, it doesn't matter what comes your way. Custom built for easy field maintenance and maximum character. They're made to fit your needs and wants. Our no-compromise choices have left nothing on the table. They've got more than enough power to bring down even God Queens. And I hope the next time you're considering which weapon to purchase, you'll take a look at the best bang for your buck available. Replacement parts and imitations also work on accessories sold separately. Alright, now I've gone through hell and back for you, Lilith. When do I finally get my first paycheck? Wait, where the hell are you going? Is it at least gonna be sent in the mail? I'm not getting paid, am I? Well, with that in mind, I think it's time to change lanes a bit. After some manual labor, I've gotten my hands on some new armaments, courtesy of the Hyperion Corporation. These bad boys become more accurate the longer you hold down the trigger. Hyperion. The name means business. They deliver quality weaponry for every scale and scenario, from small arms through orbital defense platforms. If timely and thorough obliteration of your enemies is important to you, and we know it is, put your trust in the biggest arms manufacturer in the 6 galaxies. When you mean business, you mean Hyperion. In case it's not clear, I'll be using the same rules as before, except I can only use Hyperion weapons that are received through the mail. Which also means I can't have my grenade mod. What a shame. It was doing so much. I've been asked to help in taking over a casino previously owned by Handsome Jack, now run by some guy named Pretty Boy.
Poverty-stricken vault hunters a bazillion miles away.
Well, you gotta rub it in, man. To get in, I have to shoot my way through some loaders. They've been updated with much more modern designs. I both love and hate them. The bright side is it was easy with my weapons in hand. Hyperion guns protect a front-facing shield when aiming, meaning I'm safer than ever when standing relatively still. Gives me a whole nother option to my general tactics. Close range is no longer something to be afraid of, and I'm no longer bleeding health from stepping outside of cover for a nanosecond. Also, exploders are back. Additionally, I now owe a bunch of money, according to exclusively them. There's no way this would hold up in court. If I could afford to defend myself. Shit, I need to figure out how to get out from under this. There are apparently a bunch of people that got stuck here when this place went into lockdown. Some of them have tried to implement some form of society. Others took a more militaristic approach. Pretty much everyone here is in debt. Think the corpus from Warframe. Among them is Timothy, one of Jack's body doubles desperately trying to get out. Well, the only living body double. And if he outright leaves, he dies. Pretty Boy wants me to hand him over in exchange for some debt relief. This guy's a bit of a Fallout sort of vibe going on. And honestly, this DLC was better than the majority of the base game. It's not super serious, but it has a much stronger tone and sense of general direction. Anyways, I'm here to take control of the place. To do that, I need Timothy's help, which means saving his rump. Maybe afterwards he can help me bargain for a pile of currency to get myself out of this mess. He gives me a gun that I can't use. Thanks for the thought, I guess. As you can see though, my sniper rifle is capable of dishing out quick and consistently high damage. Though my aim may suck, it allows me to safely and precisely put those bullets into their frames. Good for close range, long range, and everywhere in between. Turns out Timothy has a thing for Moxie. She does, not feel the same. His literal hand is the only thing that makes some of the things work around here, though, so we've got to keep a working relationship. Oh, don't worry about it, buddy. Failing negotiations is all that I've done so far. This DLC has so many mandatory combats. It's weirdly nice having the loaders back to tear through, so not all bad. And seriously, the gunplay and movement has never felt better. It feels weird to say, but I genuinely had a good time playing through this. Can't help but wonder if it's just because it was my first time through, but overall. I met a character who likes fire. That's all you need to know about Ember. Every problem she solved is via fire. Also, the game kept throwing things like legendary gunner class mods at me. Sure would be nice if I could use one of these, or if I could at least get this kind of thing when it's usable. I've got to find her ship to get her to help us to pull off a heist. It's been impounded, so I have to hunt it down in the impound area. Getting service here is a nightmare. You may think that your weapons stop being helpful when you step into the office, but with high-tech Hyperion, you're set up to excel in any setting. Just show them your credentials. Don't worry, kiddo, I'm wielding the best. And just like that, you can be on your way. Need a better saw to subsequent line? Announce to the world that you're more important than this random no-named riffraff, and get the place that you deserve. At the front. I fought my way through a lot of enemies for them to eventually send me a new weapon. A shotgun, to be more specific. And Hyperion shotguns are a thing of beauty. My aim sucks, and these things do a ton of damage. I was then introduced to Freddy, robo-repair guy who's been really lonely. A friend of the local machines by way of reprogramming them to do what he wants. Also, from this point on, every time I fast travel or reload the game into this DLC, it would replay his current line. Every single time. To get him to help with the heist, I'd have to save his friend via a lot more mandatory combat, and seriously, I didn't expect these weapons to perform as well as they do. Turns out, all that's been missing is superior damage, accuracy, and a shield. Oh my god, have I been missing a shield. I reunite Freddy and his friend, he unites me with incendiaries, and now I've got 2 people helping out. Cool beans. To sneak Timothy into where he can be more helpful, I'm gonna need a suit that more closely resembles Jack's attire. Gotta shoot my way to his tailor that just so happens to be both alive and on board this hellhole. He's apparently the leader of a society built on the idea of rejecting the search for joy in worldly goods. Ironic that his utopian dream of escaping capitalism is in a casino. This whole area is basically just where trash goes to be processed. His whole society only lives by way of them having jammed a giant chunk of metal into their compactor. He wants me to save them from it being potentially reactivated, so I left to get some parts, fought my way through an absolute ton of claptraps. Not sure how they survived or why they're hostile now, but I don't think I need to tell you why this was really easy. They're claptraps. We then booted up a constructor, claptrap. My mission was to escort it through a bunch of enemies. Seriously, if you like the combat, then this DLC is packed with it. The environments are strangely more varied than I expected. Overall, it was simple but enjoyable. I didn't do this perfectly, for the record. I had more than my fair share of deaths. But if we get into that and my mandatory resets, we'll be here all day. After letting my shotgun do all the talking, the constructor finishes fixing the strut, and we carry on. Except the clapstructor doesn't believe it's strong enough. So into the strut goes their new body. All for their friends. Honestly, it's really depressing how easily the friendship and sacrifice of a claptrap is won. Just so desperate to be loved. This one still lives, just can't leave here. I hope for their sake that the citizens of this place actually visit. So we have the whole crew together, meaning it's of course time for us to do the whole heist movie thing where we do a montage of everyone's skills and whatnot coming together, which results in me basically teleporting between objectives. Not gonna lie, this was really cool. Super thematic. I loved it. Until it teleported me away from any possible fight for your life target. Timothy was able to pass himself off as Jack to get us in. More killing. Timothy was kidnapped. Wait, Timothy was kidnapped? By Freddy betraying us! Well, that's not good. Moxie more or less wants me to abandon him to focus on the mission, so we occasionally get to hear about the torture he's now going through. Honestly, just cold Mox. Pretty Boy now has control of a massive bot factory, the entire location, and I've got nothing. Except for these high-quality weapons, courtesy of the Hyperion. I got a new submachine gun, and I didn't realize it well at the time, but this thing was going to have a lot of say later down the line. And by down the line, I mean right now. Or at least from your perspective. Mine had some in between, but this boss was the first major roadblock for me in the DLC. Loaders constantly spawn, there's a ton of cover, and the boss itself can do a ton of damage. And also spawn even more loaders. Similar to constructors, you can stop it from doing so by shooting it enough in the eyes. Most of its attacks don't do a ton of damage, but when it starts shooting like so, it's best to get behind cover. The thing is, you can still hit it from behind most of the boxes in the area. The SMG is accurate, fast firing, and basically just a constant stream of damage. No need to stop or slow down, just keep pumping out those numbers. I found that by actively avoiding harming the loaders, less would spawn in naturally. Kept my distance best I could, took the time to make sure the bot was at least half as blind as I am, and with some time and patience, done with the bot. I then had to fight Freddy and his bot friends. They were certainly one of the fights of all time. Then Pretty Boy and his giant robot with way too many phases. Took me a long while to figure out, but steps 1 through 80 are get the hell away from the damn thing. Absolutely kill the bots it spawns, but otherwise it ranges your friend. It is useless at a distance. What isn't is my Hyperion SMG. A refined instrument of death, it unloads round after round with no fuss or loss in accuracy, even with wider gaps between me and my foes. This took a pretty high number of tries, all things considered, but with it being massive and relatively easy to dodge while far away, we fulfilled our contractual obligation to have Jack in every game, and the day is saved. Sort of. This whole place is headed toward a black hole with us in it. Timmy is trapped, and I'm not going to show it, but he's only able to save himself by cutting off his hand to give us control of the place. But he also bleeds a lot for having cut off his hand via laser. How the hell wasn't that cauterized? He earns Moxie's eye via his bravery in the face of a literal black hole, gets his date, and she gets the casino. Everyone on board is saved, and I get paid. Right? Right? Oh, come on! So, Jacobs. I love him, you love him. I've been invited to a wedding for him. Same rules as before, except now it's Jacob's guns. We start off on the planet of, however you say that, a frozen wasteland that I swear somehow feels more like Pandora than the base game Pandora felt. Shot my way through the locals, as is customary, all the way up to meeting Gage, the Mechromancer turned wedding planner. And of course, her best friend, Deathtrap. I'd like to quickly remind you that these guns are all single fire. Every bullet is me pulling the trigger. They don't fire as fast as you can pull the trigger like in the second game, so I'm a bit limited, but please just keep that in mind while going through this campaign. The enemy designs are alright, but some of them just despawn when killed consistently, and it's weird. What's weird in the right way, though, is the general feel of the DLC. Love the Eldritch horror theme, and I know that it's really tropey in a lot of areas, but the characters came across as colorful rather than just walking jokes. This whole thing read like an apology for Hammerlock's last DLC. Claptrap is sent on a wild goose chase. Poor guy. And Wainwright asked me to accompany him to check out the wedding venue. There was a ritualistic sacrifice kind of thing going on, which we interrupted. We killed a lot of cultists, including the vessel for some being, and one of my favorite gentlemen has been possessed. And just like that, all bets are off. Need I say it again? Payment or no, nobody touches the Jacobs while I live and breathe. You abomination from beyond the stars. I do love a good enemy cult, though. Cults are just fun. We bring him back to be cared for. Can't get the ring off, and the game is afoot. Or, I guess, a finger. I have to go find a detective, in typical fashion, save him from some bugs, and he's probably one of my least favorite characters here. Everyone here's cursed. His curse is that he has a terrible memory. He constantly tells you his name, but can't remember if he prefers people use his nickname or full name. It got old fast. He did help me find some information on the antagonist, by which I mean I pushed through a whole lot of cultists. It eventually became rather underleveled, but I loved this particular rifle. The magazine capacity meant I never had to reload, just a constant stream of bullets, as long as my finger didn't give out. You'll love to see it. One of my best friends would be cover. My other best friend would be range. Jacob's weapons are powerful, but they're also pretty damned accurate. Remember, if it took more than one shot, or 50, you weren't using a Jacobs. I don't have a good way to mitigate damage, though, beyond dealing it, so I went down a lot. The enemies here are spongy and brutal. Seriously, why is my luck only good when it sucks? The two possessing parties are apparently partners, kept questionably alive by an ancient being. Shotguns sort of universally seem to be able to sometimes knock enemies down, which means I can temporarily not be shot at. They also do fairly respectable damage, despite an abysmal, more meticulous fire rate. My search for Eldritch knowledge led me to this floating monstrosity. And, as you can see, little dude's got health. A lot of it. Also essentially selects a champion among the endlessly spawning mobs. That champion also has HP for days. The boss functions like a combination of multiple floating enemies here, though. In addition to buffing this guy, it'll resurrect dead enemies into what are essentially just exploders. Constantly. Breaking the hold on the mob will do some damage to the boss, which you can do by dealing an ungodly amount of damage to the said mob. It'll do a little phase transition where all the basic enemies in the area will die instantly, and then shield itself with tiny crystals while healing. Break the crystals faster to make the next phase easier. Just make sure not to go down right as it clears the whole field, which it did to me multiple times across my many attempts. The devs decided to add some parkour into the mix just in case you felt too safe with the constant hail of bullets and explosions. I spent a long while trying to keep away from the enemies to avoid taking damage, slowly chipping down this 4-phase first boss of the DLC. Turns out, shotguns are pretty sick. Yeah, charging it to just shoot it in the face as much as possible was the play. I was spending several minutes hammering at the trigger one way or another. If I'm gonna die fast, then I might as well live fast too, right? Caution be as damned as the souls I smite. Just goes to show you shouldn't always overcomplicate things. Whether it be cooking dinner or confessing your feelings to someone you love, there's no need to make a mess of things. Be clear, concise, and relish in simplicity. And you see, Jacobs is simply amazing. My objective, perhaps rather obviously, is to destroy the heart of the ancient evil. To get there, I'll need to get through a force field, which means finding some old Daltech. To get through there, I'll need help from some hunters. Looks like they have no trouble going through things. Melee fighter versus gun, so you can guess how this fight went, but this guy is a hunter, with a similar story to Hammerlock in a lot of senses. And this, of course, would be where the story is setting up that he's doubting his marriage with the much more sedentary Wainwright. I was really worried that they'd take the route of seeing the shiny new man, and they didn't. Both parties in the wedding get cold feet, believing that their partner deserves better. The gap between them slowly grows a bit through the story, but it's from a place of love and admiration. Hammerlock joins me to push through some woods. I need to collect some parts of a mighty beast, and who better to help me than a hunter? Feeling horrible for leaving his partner, but also feeling rather useless all cooped up. He made this section considerably more comfortable. Helped to keep me standing while enemies popped out of existence. The next hurdle came in the form of tall, bright, and ugly here. Crazy fast, fiery, and like everything, hits like a truck. It doesn't sit still for long, and when it does, I'm also being attacked by these little crab-looking things. Over time, I came to the conclusion that I should prioritize killing them first and foremost. Hammerlock is here if I need a revive, and he's worth a lot more than risking getting hit by them most of the time. It also loves to shove itself under me, forcing a bounce. More than anything, I need more damage. The areas its attacks affect confuse the heck out of me. Luckily, it charges somewhat regularly when these giant chunks of ice are present. And I didn't think about it at first, but of course it can crash into them for a stun. Tons of time to get free damage in. I'd like to remind you that Jacob's weapons are single fire. I play on controller. The reason I didn't use my pistol more often is simply that I didn't want to have to scrounge around for ammo. And as you can see, it goes quickly. I didn't purchase ammo even once during the run, so it was bothersome when I ran out. That and my hand was hurting by the end of this DLC. I did the whole thing in one sitting, so I was pretty happy just to get through this. So far, this is only the second run I've ever done that has physically hurt me. Bonus points if you remember which is the first. Hammerlock does some soul-searching on said hunt, though, and ventures back to be with his beloved. I can now get through a door to be faced with some turrets. It's going to take a lifetime of experience playing games to get by these. An expert strategy that can only come from a mastery of the craft. A love for the hunt, fueled by an incredible line of equipment that you can get for 20% off when you order it with my creator code, please help me afford food, at checkout in the next... Never mind, it's expired. I used a similar strategy for a lot of the next section. Something about a lack of cover and a large open area just brings out the inner, I don't even want to try to put up with that in me. Gage got me into a place, and even gave me a friendly neighborhood death trap to help. We had to clear out a lot of enemies to carry on, and by we, I mean he. I eventually got my hands on an upgrade to his laser eye. Shot some dudes, and Death Trap got overloaded with power in the process of charging. This of course hurts Gage a lot, but he's a robot, and could more than likely be fixed. And yeah, ship of Theseus, but she wasn't even able to diagnose the issue yet. Also, he's not dead. Not the most convincing of fake-outs. This boss swaps between being invincible and being really aggressive. Mobs spawn in, and damage just sort of falls from the ceiling. So you need to be constantly on the move. Otherwise, deal with the enemies and get good. I wish I could say more, but your only real recourse is to balance aggression and getting cover to stay alive long enough to wear down the boss. There's nowhere good to stay because you can't take cover from it. Just hope Death Trap's beams help, because he won't revive you either. This fight was long and miserable. I eventually threw myself at it enough times to get through those, so let's just move on. To the part where I get to find out that there is another game in which I don't get to give high fives. The possessed groom is escaped and is trying to get to the Eldritch Lady. I was making my way there with my friends by my side, but between Gage and Death Trap, I was hardly able to help at all. He kept stealing my kills with a monstrous amount of energy he was wasting on random mobs instead of helping out later when I would have actually wanted it to. To be fair though, dude's a one-bot army at the moment. He blasts open a force field, predictably stops being plot relevant. I fought my way through a bunch of junk. Oh, the mini-bosses? With the might of these beautiful pieces of artistry, they were hardly a footnote. I then got to the final boss of the DLC, who now has both grooms. At some point, enemies just became huge bullet sponges. And this boss is no exception. She summons 3 mobs and then throws a massive explosion at you. The size of it scales with the number of enemies she's killed. So, it's best to kill them before she does. If you kill all 3, she doesn't do the attack at all. If you kill 2, though, it's easily avoided, and she wastes a lot of time charging it up. And as you can see by her health, I really needed her to sit still long enough for me to deal damage. Everything else, you can easily strafe from a distance. She's not a hard fight, just an incredibly long one. The main difficulty here came from the ever-increasing pain in my right hand, as I've been hammering the same trigger for the past few hours. This fight alone took about 18 minutes of nearly non-stop shooting for my final attempt. Phase 2 has the heart doing things. Dodging slow tentacles, shooting the sticky outy bits, and avoiding the big glowy splody things. There are also flying things to revive yourself. Phase 3 combines the two, and it's honestly easier than Phase 1. The tentacles kill most of the mobs she spawns, so now you just have another target, and need to move a little bit more. Again, not difficult in a technical way, it just has too much health. But when you're backed by Jacobs, you're backed by family. A family of values and determination, refinement and quality. So powerful that not even an eldritch horror can stand in your way. The 2 are saved, Wainwright is freed, and I'm given the honor of officiating their wedding. And they are so cute. I did forget to bring a gift though, so what I brought was lame anyway. Consider the save my gift. No need to pay me. Okay, so for killing every target for 0, I get a Lyuda, a flat-off sniper rifle. I know it's concerning to consider another contract with them, but I'm getting desperate here. This DLC has a Wild West motif, and while Jacobs fits that well, I just did that, so instead of slow and precise, I'm going a different route. Don't think of these 50 shots as wasting ammo. Just think of it as an extra 49 chances to hit your target. Blood off. You don't need to be a better shot. You just need to shoot more bullets. Now, I'm here for a bounty against a gang called Devil Riders. I pretty quickly find not the villain, and this could be made a lot easier if you'd let me actually shoot her here and now. This thing rips through locals like a bullet through flesh. The hardest part? Waiting through these run-out sections where everything just goes by really friggin' slow. Move your feet! I've got places to be! Yeah, town. Where's the sheriff? Where's the sheriff? Start a bar fight? Win a bar fight? Here's the sheriff. Start a real fight. Oh no! The guy I just met. And they stole totally not an egg. Well, gotta find a new sheriff. Found her. They added weird-looking jump pads. Hey, new car. Too bad it sucks. I'm finally nearing their hideout, and I just saved us both about half an hour. Did you like Saurians from Eden 6? Did you like the completely ordinary human mobs? Well, I hope so, because that's about it. I enjoyed the narrator's soft vocalizations regarding the old-timey adventure I was partaking in, but dang, it was otherwise dull. Maybe the setting just doesn't do it for me, but I really didn't want any part of this. Fitting with the manufacturer I'm repping, I suppose. I got a new rifle, but it sucked. I pretty quickly missed having a gun that shot fast and did damage. I then got a new mechanic in the form of a crap that goes boom. Gotta smack it. Saved a guy. Enemies are genuinely really dangerous in just how much damage they can deal. By this point, I really can't out-heal them via sprinting. Staying back and peppering them was outstanding. This was especially true with places like this, that are just huge. Letting myself get surrounded was a quick death sentence, but do you want to shoot a lot of bullets really fast? Flat off has your needs covered. I did a lot of property damage to lure out the boss, and rather than show you that, I think I'd like to show you this boss fight in its entirety. I can't tell you what he actually does, as this is my first time ever seeing him, so make of that whatever you will. Oh really? The enemy that can teleport things teleported the thing away. Who could have seen that coming? Oh wow, it's an egg. But it clearly looked so much like a rock. Some of the characters are throwing a fit and having a spat, but you need to get their eyes on the prize. Which is of course these fine wares that I'm using right here. Also, there's a giant monstrosity that's about to hatch and kill you all. Also, outlaws presently here with the same goal. Honestly, it's weird that they don't have anything better to do than attack this particular town on, like, the rest of the planet. Oh well, their hides make as good a demo as any, I guess. I got a derail train because this is a Western-themed DLC. Weird one-off character that contributes nothing to my brand recognition? Check. A new mechanic that I don't care about? Check. Weird deer-like enemies that are hyper-aggressive and have a larger version of themselves serving as a boss for the campaign. Okay, I'm checking it off, but who the hell put this item on my list? It's constantly in your face, and this fight seems like it'd be annoying as hell if it had health. Lucky me, it sucks. I get into the old facility of a company that used to be here. Seriously, butt-off snipers are fantastic. Terrible for your ammo, but that's not really an issue for me at the moment. This particular DLC seems rough though. Like, there are these stairs that I can't walk up for reasons I can't explain. A lot of bits around the environment just don't work correctly here, and it doesn't really seem like they cared much when constructing it. Sad to see. There were a lot of near catches and shooting gallery rooms with the character that I could have killed a few hours ago. Like, what stopped me from killing her here? This boss? I don't think so. Both halves of this fight just went down super fast. But of course, it wouldn't be a Borderlands story if we were just slightly too late to stop the monstrosity from being freed. Which, to be entirely fair, makes sense. The hell else are we gonna fight? It'd be pretty anticlimactic to just stop the thing. Yeah, smooth driving there. For a blinded, deaf drunkard. So I finally catch up to Rose again, but she doesn't run this time. So I hit her with several rounds, and she ran again. Oh, also, giant alien monster. As you can see, the superior bullet hose provided only by the Flat-Off Corporation is great for ruining all of your ruiner needs. And, seriously, I so nearly had enough ammo to mow it down in one go. I had to regenerate just a teensy bit more. But I'm able to collect the bounty. Finally getting paid for saving this nightmarish little town. And representing my brand. And I'm being paid in exposure! Freaking contracts. It's fine. I'm allowed to take whatever I want from the bank. Gimme, gimme, gimme! It was robbed while I was fighting the ruiner. TDR. We're being sponsored by TDR. If you're on a budget, TDR is the way to go. And Lord knows I am. I got a baby maker from finding every dead claptrap in the base game. Well, technically two. One in the mail, but one is given to you, and I had to sell the duplicate. Anyways, I've been enlisted to study Krieg's mind. I was immediately attacked by a bunch of bunches. And this is where things got really bad for me. Not only does reloading this thing take an absolute ton of ammo, but I signed up with the company because I was being dumb and thought it would work like with Salvador, where you can just reload repeatedly. But it goes into the clip, meaning you can't even sort of do that. Thus, the only reason I wanted to use these guns is null and void. I mean, while COV would have been the closest we have to Bandit, and thus be thematic, they were sort of my main sponsor for the base game. So why not use a weapon type that explodes? It becomes little minions. Because what could possibly be more Krieg-like than wanting explosions, friends, and exploding friends? I meet both the sane and insane version of Krieg, both personalities. I've got to go through 3 parts of his brain and unlock the part of his head that's making his life hell. Tannis also agrees to pull the sane Krieg out of his body if he helps. Finally, freedom from the madness. The first memory is from when he attacked a COV stronghold, and this whole place is just asking to get demonetized, so I'm gonna try to be careful how much I show. I met the first mini-boss of the run, and the second. I'm gonna level with you. This fight sucked. A lot. Evil Brick is constantly chasing you with huge AoEs that have no great visible indicator. Mordecai has exploding birds with the same issue. And he fires a high damage sniper rifle really quickly and basically at random. I can't heal, I can't hurt them, and I can barely even get a second wind. And that's if Mordecai is kind enough to grace my sight with a bird. With, I swear, the jankiest hitbox. So I'm going to save you the time I spent hating life and explain. I have 3 of these shotguns that then aim for them and attack. Great. Cool. Neat even. What happens when I run out of ammo? Vending machines right here? I think not. Need I repeat, I didn't buy ammo once. Better yet, why not just swap to a shotgun with a higher ammo capacity, thus regenerating more than the other one can hold, thus allowing me to do this indefinitely. Took, I don't know, maybe an hour of doing this? I didn't time it. Just had some videos playing while waiting for them to die. I've certainly spent my time doing worse things. And yeah, you can kill both of them like this. It's even better if and or when Brick comes over here. His AI isn't really active, so you can just, you know. I then shoot down the moon. There isn't a lot else to say here. I just thought it was surreal, fun, and kind of funny. For all of its problems, I enjoyed this DLC. Tannis then gives a line that, again, I thought was funny. We then throw the moon at a building, because why not? Inside is evil Lilith, and I honestly couldn't even tell how she was hitting me. Why I was dying. I think there were tiny orbs that were hitting me, but I can't really hit them. These guns have the accuracy of a cross-eyed armadillo. It's luck at best, but like, what happened here? Because I'm really not sure. And this was the trend through several attempts. I'm okay with difficult. I'm okay with wacky. But I'm not okay with not even knowing how or why something is happening. After thoroughly being made to feel stupid and confused, I left to farm out some definitely appropriately leveled items. For the record, I had to go back and kill around 200 claptraps from a few DLCs ago, while on Mayhem 11 with base game gear. Took a couple hours by itself. And even then, despite the difference in level of me versus her, with weapons on level, the damage was awful. I mean, she's just that powerful, and with Tedior... Man, we really went downhill after the second game, huh? I remember when reloading used to actually do damage. Now it just barely tickles and wastes so many bullets. What has become of us? Krieg talks things out with Krieg and comes to the conclusion that their friends are indeed their friends, trying to fight past the idea that everyone is either using them or just playing nice. A genuine love and camaraderie. A relatable worry. Next comes, of course, the memories of Maya. Wait, second of the 3? Interesting move. It becomes pretty apparent that they both are already aware of her death, desperately trying to protect her memory, as it's all he has left of her. She's then taken by a train. If I had a nickel for every time I had to fight a train in this game, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Through this whole run, mobbing had me going in between normal combat and fight for your life. This leg of the challenge, though, was constant. The accuracy on these things is terrible. The damage is terrible. There really wasn't much of an option outside of throwing myself at the enemies and hoping really hard. I tracked down the train through various areas, electing to primarily just run from danger to varying success. Memories of Maya guide us through his mind, and oh yeah, there are guardians in this game. I get to fight alongside her one last time, as we pretty quickly dispatch an evil train. It's got huge crit spots, and Maya kicks ass. What do you want? He's able to relish in his memories of her memories, her belief that neither time nor space could separate them forever. Next up, I've got to go into sections of his mind devoted to how he became the person he is. And might I just say, using these guns often feels about as effective as pissing on a grease fire to put it out. This only becomes more evident as the encounters grow larger, and my only real salvation was the cryo status. There were some really cool sections where the map changes around. Some of it isn't motion sickness friendly. Or maybe too friendly. In an effort to not make sensitive viewers queasy, I'll leave it at, it was really neat. I have to chase down and presumably kill the mental form of the person that caused Krieg's mental health collapse. So obviously I'll be seeing Sammy here. Who the hell are you? So, I guess it's him now. Okay. Seriously, every boss two-shot me. If you're still surprised by now, then I don't know how to help you. If you're sick of hearing me say it, then imagine how I'm feeling having played it. Otherwise, he does spawn mobs for Fight for Your Life. But if you don't kill them immediately, he does a really big AoE thing that got me every time he used it, because it also hits multiple times to sidestep health gate. The best solution was to stay far away from him and kill every mob on sight. He's really not that dangerous without set attacks and a whole lot of distance. Once again, he just has a lot of health. Turns out all of his memories from before are gone. Disappointing not to, get to dive deeper into the mind of Krieg. We find out that the madman inside the Mad Lad has apparently been protecting him from the final boss of the DLC. That, as far as I can tell, is never really explained. The explanation I'm taking is that the psychos in Borderlands are made by a psycho in their head. But, like, we knew Krieg had a psycho in his head. Now I guess we know there are two? Alternatively, he developed dissociative personality disorder, and the mad part of his mind is essentially taking the brunt of it to spare the rest of him. And you too would have to be crazy not to pick up these guns at such low prices. They're so affordable. Look, I can't do this anymore. You're seeing how much damage I'm doing. Reese was right. These things are garbage with triggers. This whole section of the run was funded by Atlas to show how bad these things really are. And you know what? I agree. What the hell are these numbers? Either the game became nothing but bullet sponges, or these guns are the worst things I've used all run. And that's including the Girth Blaster. The whole first phase of the fight, you can jump up and down between platforms to have the boss pretty much entirely locked in doing his jump attack. If and when you get hit, you should have plenty of time to run to the next jump pad and heal by way of attacking. This is incredibly easy. It just took an age and a half because my spitballs ain't doing much. Phase 2 changes it up. Sort of. Now you don't even need to jump. Just stay far back enough that you can stay behind cover to evade the Care Bear stare. Dear God, stay behind cover. I had to redo the entire first half of the fight and I was about at my wit's end. You then get a timed looting section as Krieg resolves to stay himself. Stay with his other self. Forge a new future together, and it's sweet of them to work things out. Speaking of though, I've finally been paid by Atlas, which means I can finally have food.
What do you mean I'm being sued by TDR?
While I file for bankruptcy, I'd just like to say that I hope you enjoyed your time here. You probably know how to use social media, and I hope that means I'll get to hear your thoughts now and on any future outings. Until then, remember to stay safe, spread some kindness in the world, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.